What is up, everybody? I am back from vacation, but you know who's not here? Eric Lindquist. He is, what is it called? Rectal exam. Rectal exam. He's doing the normal thing. He does it like every couple of weeks. He goes to the local McDonald's. He pays a guy $50, takes him behind the dumpster over there, and whatever. He claims it's a medical exam. I've told him it isn't, but he says he likes it. So he goes every couple of weeks to get that done. He had to take off work for it today. Instead, Josh Engelman joining me on MLB Live Before Lock for the first time this year. So new look here, and pretty sure as long as everything checks out with Eric's guy, he'll be back here tomorrow. So do me a favor as you come in here, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you got questions for me as I'm back here from vacation, if you're in our Stokastic Discord channel, which you get access to if you sign up for any of the packages that we have here, link is down below in the YouTube description box. Tag me over the course of the show. Definitely be looking out for any of those questions. If you got a super chat, fire those in. Other than that, just happy to see you guys here. Happy to be back. I was kind of bored as shit the last couple of days. So happy to be back at it, doing shows. And other than that, Josh, how are you feeling about being on a baseball show today?
I'm excited. I've been enjoying baseball lately. I don't know, probably the past 2 weeks or so. It took a little bit after NBA was over for me to even want to focus on sports. Just the playoffs was such a grind. So I gave up for most of July. But now I'm ready. I'm sitting back. I wish my Braves were a little bit better, but what are you going to do?
You and me both, because I have some good futures positions this year. One of them not, though, was the Atlanta Braves, who was pretty high on coming into the season. They projected really well on pretty much every projection model. There was actually not a single projection model, Josh, that had them with a less than 90% chance to make the playoffs. And things went so wayward right out of the gate, where Acuna, he wasn't back in the timeline he was expected to be. Strider, he struggled a little when he first came back. And then, of course, Jerkson Profar immediately gets suspended. He was the big free agent acquisition. So, anything that went into those projections, they all hit the worst possible outcome in the range of outcomes. Yeah. And then, of course, Acuna's hurt now again as well. So, not that it mattered at this point, but everything that went wrong for the Braves possibly could have gone wrong. And now we've got tonight's baseball slate to be talking about. One thing that's really nice is I do feel like I'm getting eased in a little bit coming back from vacation, Josh, because there's been so many crappy weather situations lately, but that's not something we have to worry about today. Today, it's all clear weather. I really find it annoying to deal with some of the baseball slates where there is crappy weather in the forecast. Not going to be a problem for today. All games are clear, nothing to be considering. So we can just kind of get into looking at the top pitchers, some of the top stacks, and anything else that we have to talk about over the course of the show. So where I want to begin here is by looking at some of the pay-up options. And even though this isn't a massive slate, we don't have any crazy chalk pitchers, and actually no crazy chalk pay-up pitchers, which we've seen more often than not this year, where usually the two most popular pitchers on the slate are two of the four most expensive. That's not the case today. The most popular pitchers are actually value options priced below 8K. We still have some guys with some ownership to consider on the high end. So at 10-2, Max Fried is 22.5% owned. Tyler Glass now is 25% owned. Sean Manaea then is 11.5% owned. Sonny Gray also fairly contrarian at 4% ownership. If you could roster just one of these pay-up pitchers, do you have a preference amongst these four pitchers who are 9K or higher on DK?
Oh, I hate you. Because I thought you were going to ask me if I could roster one pitcher, who would it be? And it's not one of the pay-up options. It happens to be one of the 7K guys. So I was ready to hit you with a Yusei Kikuchi and have all of this fun information backing it up. Unfortunately, that is not the way that it went for me. But in terms of the pay-up options, I'm not really getting there with any sort of volume. Kikuchi and Soroka are carrying a lot of my water right now. Glass now is the guy that I'm most exposed to, but I am relatively neutral to him today. I'm using pitching as a pay down more frequently, paying up a little bit more in the bats department. So if I'm rostering one of the pay-ups, right now it's technically Glass now. Fried is a coin flip for me. I don't have much of a preference either way.
It's Glass now for me. Of any of these pay-up pitchers, he clearly has the highest upside. You look at Tyler Glasnow overall for the season, and it's been a little bit of a down year for him. He's only made 9 starts, though, with injuries. It's kind of common for him. He pitched a career-high 134 innings last year, so you can never really count on him for more than 20 or so starts and probably not more than 120 to 130 innings. So overall for the year, his numbers, definitely a little bit of rust has been there. 3.38 ERA, 3.84 expected ERA. But the one thing that's great about Glass now is even in a down year, he has a 30% strikeout rate. So this is his lowest K rate since 2018, but it's still 30%. And then it's also something that, just considering that, I think he's going to pitch better as the season goes on, as he gets further and further removed from that injury. I think we should see the strikeout rate slowly creep up a little bit as well. And you compare that to pitchers like Max Fried, who is a great real life pitcher, but not the best DFS asset because he doesn't generate a lot of swing and misses. Then you got a guy like Sonny Gray, who is a brutal matchup against the Dodgers. Then Sean Manaea, who typically doesn't work crazy deep into games. So kind of by process of elimination, Tyler Glasnow is the one who stands out the most to me here, just because he's the one who has the most upside for GPPs. Now, for cash games, it's kind of irrelevant because none of these guys are real considerations. The cash game options to me are pretty clearly Michael Soroka and Yusei Kikuchi. So we don't have to worry too much about that on the high end as far as cash game considerations. I'm just trying to consider who has the most upside. And in that sense, it's going to be Tyler Glasnow for me. Do you have anything else you want to say about the payout pitchers?
Yeah, I do like the matchup for Fried here. Texas on the season, 28th in WRC plus against lefties. That is third from the bottom. Only Minnesota and a team that we're going to talk about in a second when I start talking about the virtues of Yusei Kikuchi. Tampa is dead last against lefties. So these are the two teams that are facing these lefties. Texas hasn't had a great time facing lefties so far this year. The biggest problem for Fried is actually the lefty bats. I mean, righties 117x ISO right now. I think this lines up really nicely for Fried, to the point where now that I'm looking deeper at this, because Laffy hits the pitchers from a deep dive perspective when we're talking about the perfect lineup. So I'm usually pretty in tune to the stack side of what I want to do. But I'm looking at it right now. I have 22% of Fried, and I'm hoping to end up a little bit higher than that as we start to rerun.
Yeah, so for Fried, I very rarely end up rostering him in DFS. And it's not because I don't think he's great. It's just he's a 23% strikeout rate this year, 23.8% for his career. And then he's just almost always the most expensive or second most expensive pitcher on any given slate he's on. It would be one thing if he was contrarian, but he's 22% owned. Glasnow's 23% owned. And that's where I just go to. Glasnow's a little bit cheaper. Also is more upside because of the strikeout stuff. It's not a bad matchup by any means. Like you just mentioned, it's a great matchup for Max Fried. I just kind of question what the ceiling is going to be there. By the way, some people are asking us about the weather in Atlanta. And here's how I'm looking at that spot. It's not that there's no chance of it raining. It's there's no real chance of the game being postponed in a meaningful way. So with that being the case, it's something I'm not really concerning myself too much with. And then even if there is some sort of rain delay, like I'm not looking to roster Eric Fetty today. I'm not looking to roster Quinn Priester. You guys could see here up on the screen. I'll scroll down a little bit. But yes,
I was planning on betting on some overs, though, if there's some rain involved, just in case. Just Chase Burns, perhaps.
Yeah. So side note on that. One thing I think is really funny. I don't know if you guys followed this on Twitter. People are all up in arms because Chase Burns came out of a game after only having pitched couple of innings because of rain delay and the game gets rescheduled the next day. There's a really easy solution for this. Just be aware of the weather and incorporate it into your betting process. I don't really understand this thing where people lose bets and it's everybody's fault but their own. It's why did it rain? Why did the manager do this? Why is this what the sportsbook rules are? It was all kind of known information ahead of time, what the weather is going to be, what the sportsbook's rules are. So I don't know, like there was an edge to be had there. Like I kind of trolled a little bit with it on Twitter because I bet Chase Burns unders, but it was funny because I bet it specifically because of the weather. And then people like, I lost it. The other thing too is people like, I bet him 11 plus strikeouts, like plus, 1,100 or something. I felt like it was going to win otherwise. Like there was no way it lost unless there was the rain.
It makes me think of the Chappelle bit where he's just, in his like Lambo or whatever, talking to an Amish guy. And he's just like, bet you don't know what the weather's going to be tomorrow, Zeke. I do. It's just like, that's all you got to do, man. Just like pull up the weather. You can know if you're going to have you got to deal with that or not. And people are just like, nah, we'll be fine. I'll just wing it.
Yeah. I mean, I guess my money into the sun too, because I've got relatives that control the weather. They're pulling the strings and I get some text messages and phone calls. So, there's that aspect to consider as well. Maybe I get slightly more accurate forecast than other people. But
Yeah,
I mean, either
that's
way,
fair. That's fair.
I mean,
I hadn't thought about it like that, but you can pull the different levers if you need to. All of a sudden, poof, rain cloud. You're like a Buffalo Wild Wings, your people.
Green Checkmark says Greg affiliates with known point shavers in the NBA. Very true. Direct line.
This
to
is all
of them.
starting to get a little weird.
Just facts, just straight facts and accuracy. So anyway, for pay up pitchers, nothing else that I really have to talk about. Like Sean Manaea, Sonny Gray, not real considerations for me. If we get to the 8K range, Josh, this is kind of a dead zone. Nick Lodolo, he's 9% owned. Quinn Priester's 3% owned. Slate Ciccione's 1% owned. Adrian Hauser's 3% owned. Is there anybody in this price range you think the field is missing out on by not rostering?
Missing out on? No. I mean, like, I have a little bit of Lodolo at 8,700. He's not owned in any way. 13% top 2 odds, kind of comparable to Manaea or Gray. Value's fine. I don't. There's nothing about him that makes me think I would like to have a ton of him. He just doesn't look even remotely as close to as good as the 7K options we have today, and I just can't get away from those guys.
Yeah, I mean, just look at our projections. We've got, like, even ignoring the ownership that we have going to guys like Soroka and Kikuchi, if you just look at the raw fantasy points, we've got Kikuchi projected for 17.5 fantasy points, Soroka for about 16.5 fantasy points, and then the guys in the 8K range are obviously more expensive, and they're all projecting for 3 to 5 less fantasy points. So just from that standpoint, it's like, all right, I'm going to go from Kikuchi to Quinn Priester and sacrifice 5 fantasy points and pay $1,000 more. It's just not something that is going to stand out a whole bunch. You know, even favoring 150 lineups in the Sims, like only 2 of those lineups have Quinn Priester. A couple of them have Nick Lodolo. None of the other 8K guys showed up at all. So I see it the same way as you. The 8K range is just kind of a dead zone. I would rather either get all the way up to a Tyler Glass now, or even more likely, just go down to Yusei Kikuchi, Michael Soroka, those kinds of guys. And I think that's where we have to go next, Josh. And very clearly on DraftKings, the cash game combination, Soroka, Kikuchi, that's what we're rolling out in cash games. Do you have a preference between the two of them? Is the one that you are gravitating to more than the other?
Kikuchi. I have an absolute boatload of Kikuchi right now. Last run I had, let me just pull it back up here because I had my stack filter on, 81% of Kikuchi. And it's like, I don't trust him. I want to be very clear here. Mm-hmm. He stresses me out. Tampa is dead. Their active roster is dead last against lefties this year. 71 WRC plus, a 129 ISO. And the thing that I think is also very interesting, they're dead last in walk rate. So it's not even like they can get guys on and all of a sudden they're super, like they're not even putting anybody on in any way. And like, I just want to kind of hang my hat on that, given the fact that he's 7,900. Because his only real weakness is righties. Now, like, he doesn't end up seeing a ton of lefties, but like lefties just don't do anything. They're dead to the world. If he can just keep the ball in the yard against the righties, we got a shot here. There's a decent pop, but like, again, not really if you add it all together for this year.
My initial lineup I built for single entry this morning was a Tampa Bay Rays stack, not because I think it's a great spot for them or anything like that, but I do think for single entry purposes, Soroka and Kikuchi are both going to be somewhere around 50% owned, which is a ton. Ultimately, there was a different stack I settled on that I like a whole bunch that we're going to talk about in a little bit here. But Kikuchi, Soroka for large field GPPs, they're the two best pitchers on the slate. Even with both of them projected for mid 30% ownership, they're showing up in more than half of lineups in the Sims apiece. So Kikuchi, Soroka, I think they both look really good relative to I wish they were a little bit more expensive and the offenses going up against them were a little bit cheaper. That's the thing that makes it difficult to fit in some of the Rays stacks for me when I was ultimately running everything through the Sims was Kikuchi is only $7,900. And then we're stacking the Rays against him. Like, Diaz is nearly 5K. Caminero is really expensive. So it's not even a cheap stack going up against Kikuchi. And then ultimately, I just didn't really love the way the look of some of those lineups were for leverage purposes. Yeah, like I think it makes sense to have some red stacks and have some Rays stacks. It's very rare that guys like Soroka and Kikuchi are worthy of commanding this kind of ownership on any slate, especially one that has this many games. So it'd be one thing, it was like a 3 or 4 game slate. So I think they look good in large field tournaments relative to their ownership. I don't feel super comfortable with it because they're not the best pitchers in the world. We just kind of look at what some of the other options are, particularly in the 7K range. I think there are guys we could consider, but none of them project out or look nearly as good in our data as Soroka or Kikuchi. Is there a pivot pitcher that you like in this price range if you were looking to get off of one of them?
Corbin's the guy I have in that area. Although if I want to get technical, I'm going even further down to like JP Sears. Like I've got 11% of him this last go, and I don't hate that too much. I don't love it a lot, but I think he's tolerable. The price tag really works. Like 6K is just really not all that problematic. He's pulling sub 10% ownership. But I don't have a lot of highlights. But I mean, he's on the better team. That helps. A little win bonus for you.
I'm going to, it's not quite the 7K range, which I know is the kind of way that I propose the question to you. But if I'm going to be going cheap at pitcher, I'm going to be going down to JP Sears. It does help that he's not going to be pitching in Sacramento, which has just been a comically hitter-friendly park this year. And then also he's going up against an Arizona team that is kind of punting the rest of the year at this point. They traded away Eugenio Suarez at the trade deadline. It's the offense. The numbers are not as potent as they would look for the overall season. And then also JP Sears for the year. The strikeout rate isn't crazy high, but he's only 6K, so it's not like you need a ton of fantasy points out of him. He has had some bad luck, though, because while he does have a 4.95 ERA, he does only have a 4.03 expected ERA, and basically every single projection model the rest of the season is projecting to pitch better than the 4.95 ERA. He's got a 4.48 ERA for his career. That's kind of what I think he is a guy with like a middling strikeout rate in the mid-ish 4K, mid-ish 4 ERA range, something like that for JP Sears. And then you consider the price tag so cheap at 6K. Like, I'm okay taking punts at him at only 10% ownership. Not anybody I want to go crazy overboard with. But I mean, like the other guy who shows up in the Sims is Patrick Corbin pitching against the Yankees. I don't feel good about that at all. Corbin, I know he's continually puts up decent starts this year. I still don't really totally buy into it. Don't love the matchup against the Yankees either, even if the Yankees did struggle in that matchup against the Marlins over the weekend where they got swept. But JP Sears is the punt option I like the most. Is there anybody else for cheap or maybe a punt option that you like for salary savings at pitcher?
I can't say Eric Fede. I have him. I have him, but I don't want anybody to play him. And I say that as a Braves fan. This is not. I can't justify it. He's dreadful. He's absolutely terrible. Right now, I have 12% of him. This, from a DFS perspective, he's sitting at 5,500. Every once in a while, when you're out there, somebody's gonna step in a pile of it. But he's really bad. 4.8 run implied total in our top pitchers tool. Like, I guess that's something to make me feel slightly better. We're talking about a Colorado team that's expected to give up 7.5 runs. We have a couple games over 5. That's at least a glimmer of hope that their implied total is not over 5 runs. That's the best I can do.
Yeah. So when it comes to him for today, also shout out to Eric, who always talks about this and probably is betting this today as well. Eric Fede, whenever he is pitching, always worth looking at some of the stolen base props going up against him. He yields stolen bases like it's his job. And another thing too with the Braves, They traded for Fetty. I don't think because he was going to help them in any kind of way. It coincided with Holmes getting hurt. And I think it was just like, here's a body who we don't give a shit about, who could just fill innings for us for the rest of the year in what's going to be a lost season. So, I don't think the Braves went out and traded for Fetty thinking, here's the guy who's going to help us make a playoff push. It's just like, get us to the finish line without guys that we care about dying, which seems to be a real issue for the Braves over the course of the last couple of years when it comes to injury. Fetty, he's somebody who's really hard for me to get behind. Super cheap at $5,500. Also, want to shout out our pal, Chris Williams, who did a couple of things here. First, he gifted out 10 YouTube memberships. So, Chris, thank you for supporting the channel, but also left us a super chat, said, just a show of thanks. Haven't played a ton of MLB with work and it being my least favorite sport, but split first with not that many others in the 25K to first showdown last night. So thanks for all you guys do. And yeah, Chris, I did see you send in that tweet to the Stokastic Hall of Fame, which then you guys want to enter the Hall of Fame, just play with the Stokastic avatar. There's no downside to you, but there is some upside because you could win a tournament, get some free stuff. If you have a really big win, you get a Hall of Fame ring, get inducted into the real Hall of Fame, get yourself a free sim subscription. So take advantage of that. Play with the Hall of Fame, enter the Hall of Fame, play with the Stokastic avatar, tweet at us at Stokastic_HOF if you do have a GPP win. So Chris Williams, he wants that ring. He's coming for it. I'm telling you, this is going to be your year. You're going to have a big NBA showdown win this year, and you're going to get a ring. I could feel it. I could feel it in my loins every morning. Every morning. Like, this is going to be Chris's time to win a showdown contest. Anything else you want to talk about as far as DK pitchers go?
I mean, Kikuchi, Soroka, Glasnow, Fried, Corbin, Fede, Sears. That's what I have. We've touched on essentially every one of those guys. Corbin's, pulling a little bit of ownership. I don't have much to say. It's Pat Corbin against the Yankees. It would look a lot worse if it were tomorrow, but it's not.
So let's really quickly touch on FanDuel, which is not all that different from DK4 today at pitcher. But one thing that is going to make a little bit of a difference that I think is kind of interesting as a talking point to give out to people, for cash games on DraftKings, it's pretty simple where you just tell people play Soroka and Kikuchi. For FanDuel, Max Fried is less expensive at $9,700. Kikuchi's more expensive relatively at $9K, and then Soroka's $7,800. So those are the three pitchers really pulling meaningful ownership on FanDuel. Soroka, Max Fried, Yusei Kikuchi. Of those three, who's the one you would trust the most to roster in a cash game?
I think it's got to be Fried. I think you have to throw Kikuchi. Like, I like Kikuchi today a lot. I think you have to throw him out immediately because he's too close in price to Max Fried. And then you're having the conversation of, is it Fried or are you saving me salary and going to Soroka? Which I think is is reasonable. I'd rather go to Fried. I'd rather just pay up.
Especially because the lower strikeout rate doesn't matter as much in cash games. And then also it matters a little less for FanDuel, where Fried's so safe to pick up the quality start bonus. He's relatively likely to pick up the win bonus as well. Yeah. So those things are going to go a long way for the FanDuel side of things. For tournaments, I actually like somebody who I like over on DraftKings a decent amount. Tyler Glasnow is only 6% owned over on FanDuel. And at 10-2, he's only $1,200 more expensive than Kikuchi. And you're getting him for about a third of the ownership. So I think Tyler Glasnow really stands out as a contrarian GPP option. Sean Manaea is only $8,100, so he's a little bit more in play for FanDuel. But anything else in the FanDuel pricing that stands out to you at all? Everything else is kind of the same to me.
Seems pretty difficult to want to go to Lodolo here at 10-4, given the pricing of anybody else. It's just such a different game with only one pitcher that there's no real virtues of JP Sears or Fede or any of those idiots. I think Soroka looks more interesting, but he's siloed a little bit. I guess Sean Manaea is probably a little bit more interesting on FanDuel to me than he is on DraftKings. He kind of gets lost in the shuffle on DraftKings. I mean, to a degree, I guess I would have said he gets lost in the shuffle on FanDuel, but he's fourth in ownership. So, yeah,
I do think he's a little bit too popular on FanDuel at the 11% ownership, but he's definitely he's more appealing than what he is on DraftKings. But I'd rather roster Soroka. I'd rather roster Glasnow for about half the ownership. I'd rather go to Kikuchi. So I still don't love Sean Manaea. It's just for different reasons. On DraftKings, I just don't think there's a real reason to go to him at his price point. And then where he's cheaper on FanDuel, I think he's too popular.
Agreed.
Any other final thoughts on pitcher, Josh? If not, we'll start looking at some stacks.
Let's check out some stacks.
All right. So you guys can see I've got us sorted here by stack exposures. I filtered by just 5-man stacks over on DraftKings here. Favorite of the top 150 lineups. Lots of Milwaukee, lots of Toronto. Those are the 2 chalk teams. If you were just playing one team for a large field GPP, Josh, who is the team that you would be looking to stack today?
Oh, what a complicated question you're asking me here. Because Toronto is on a completely different stratosphere than any other team that is on today's slate. You can't compare them to anybody else. Now they're getting owned in a different way. That's the equalizer here. Milwaukee is like hot off the presses in our sims. They are the team that Stokastic is pseudo backing today, coming out of our simulation tools. And then I gave out the Padres on the perfect lineup. As of right now, I don't have as much Padres, but I do have Toronto and I do have quite a bit of Milwaukee. If I'm giving out one team, it's going to be the Milwaukee Brewers here against Eric Fede. Eric Fede stinks. You get a giant discount in ownership in comparison to Toronto. You're obviously taking a huge hit in top stack odds as well. But I think they're disproportionate. Like that 7% aggregate ownership, which was the number I had in our top stacks tool last time. If that's the case, I'm not stressing that at all, given where their stack score lands.
Yeah, so the Milwaukee Brewers, the Toronto Blue Jays, they both show up a ton in the Sims. I think that those are 2 teams that, even relative to their ownership in large field GPPs, are 2 really good ones to be targeting. For single entry, I am trying to, and I know I asked you about large field stuff. I'm going to touch on single entry here. So for large field, yeah, I think the ownership to Milwaukee and Toronto, despite it being pretty high, they're still good teams to be rostering for large field GPPs. Now, for me in single entry, I really like the Padres, Josh. Really, really like getting to the Padres because Brandon Pfaadt is terrible. He's had an awful season, and he was a very good young pitcher at one point. And I know there's been rumors about him tipping pitches online, any of other things that could potentially be haunting him this year. But you just look at the numbers now. We are 22 starts into the season for him. So he's 2/3 of the way through the year. He's got a 5.11 ERA, a 6.29 expected ERA. He no longer has a negative wins above replacement, so at least he's above replacement level player, but the numbers are terrible. And then he's also got a 15% home run to fly ball rate, so a lot of the balls hit in the air against him end up leaving the yard. He's not generating strikeouts anymore. 19.4% strikeout rate, down from 24.5% last year. He's truly been one of the worst pitchers in baseball. And then going up against a Padres team, which, especially for stacking purposes, like we know the hitters we want to be rostering from the Padres: Fernando Tatis, Manny Machado, Jackson Merrill, Gavin Sheets is in the lineup today. So like, I know who it is. I know like the back end of the Padres lineup isn't great, but in some ways it's kind of better for DFS purposes because I know if the team goes off, generally where that production is coming from. So when I look at all of the teams that are not pulling a lot of ownership today, the Padres are very clearly, to me, the one that has the highest upside. And I really like that I'm going to be getting them at a fraction of the ownership in single entry compared to the Brewers and the Blue Jays, where the Blue Jays and the Brewers, they're probably going to be making up like 70 to 75% of lineups in single entry. I want to be looking for any other stack with upside outside of them. And to me, that's the Padres, Josh.
I just bumped them. Everything that you were about to say about them, I was ready to hear because this was the team that I prepped this morning for the video. But when I looked at my exposures, I had like 5%. So I am now taking a much bigger stand on the San Diego side. I'm in complete agreement with you. It's because of Brandon Pfaadt. Honestly, I still have my notes here from this morning. 252x ISO to lefties, 397x WOBA, 254 to righties, 381 to righties for x WOBA, 119 park factor for right-handed power in Arizona. So the righty bats looking tasty. They've been second in WRC plus this season against righties, 9th in WRC plus on the road. It's all Padres, man.
Yeah. And, you know, for single entry, if I bring this up all the time, if somebody said they're playing the Brewers, they're playing the Blue Jays, I'm not going to tell you that's a bad stack to be playing in single entry.
Right.
They're just going to be insanely popular. And the path to having a winning lineup in some of those smaller fields, when you play the Brewers or the Blue Jays, it's so much more difficult. Because, like, oh, cool, the Blue Jays went out and were the highest scoring team on the slate. Well, guess what? Half of the lineups that play the Blue Jays aren't even going to cash, because that's going to be like a third of the field when only 18% of the lineups cash. So there's a couple of different ways I was considering playing this, and I touched on it a little bit at the top. It was either find a stack that I really like for the upside that isn't the Brewers or the Blue Jays, or one of the leverage stacks. And I do think that those are reasonable ways to go as well. You could stack against Kikuchi. You could stack against Soroka, because each of those pitchers are probably going to be 50-ish% owned in single entry. I ultimately decided to go with the Padres, but I think any three of those lineups, the Padres stack, stacking against Soroka, or stacking against Kikuchi, are all reasonable ways to get yourself leverage or play lower owned lineups for single entry for today. And that's something else I want to ask you is, between Kikuchi and Soroka, do you like stacking against either of them for large field GPPs? Like, for single entry, it's going to be one thing where they're going to be like 50-ish% owned. You make a really strong case there. But when these guys are like 35-ish% on large field GPPs, are you looking to take chances at stacking against them for larger field tournaments?
I have a little bit of Tampa against Kikuchi. I don't really have much against Soroka. I think that's just more situational than anything else, not really like an opinion or anything, but I didn't mind when I saw it. I didn't mind having some Tampa on the off chance that Kikuchi goes tits up. Because, I mean, he does give up power when it goes wrong.
I've stacked a bunch against him this year in single entry to mixed results, because sometimes he just pitches well. And when he does, he generally generates strikeouts. He's been fairly cheap for a lot of the season. But then you get other slates where it's like he's 60% owned in single entry and he gives up 2 homers or something like that, only makes it through 4 or 5 innings. I think that happened the last start I did a show on. Kikuchi was like 60% owned and scored like 2 fantasy points. I stacked against him in single entry and went really well that day. So I've really, really strongly considered going to Tampa. You guys could see here in the Sims as well, even though Kikuchi's showing up in a ton of lineups, the Rays are the team I ended up with the 4th most of a 5-man stack without making any kind of adjustments to the Sims here, other than just filtering by 5-man stacks that showed up. So I do agree that between choosing to stack against Soroka or Kikuchi, it definitely does point towards Kikuchi being the one who's more reasonable to be stacking against. Also, Tampa Bay just has a better offense of the two there. So that's something, and also a better hitters park in Los Angeles as well. So I think the Tampa Bay for large field GPP certainly makes more sense. You could definitely take chances on them in single entry as well if you want to fade Kikuchi. Are there any other teams on the high end that are important to you as far as a stack goes? So not like leverage or anything like that, but outside of the Brewers, outside of the Blue Jays, any other teams that you are noticing showing up in a good amount of your lineups?
Yeah, I've got a lot of Boston. Red Sox are popping in a pretty big way for me here against Bailey Falter. Falter gets wrecked against righties, 213x ISO this season, 7.5% swinging strike rate, 15% K rate against right. Like he's not getting righties out at all, and everybody's touching him up. I mean, throwing 88 overall, 92 mile an hour fast. Like he's just imminently hittable. Do I love the park? Not really. That said, there's a lot of power in this lineup, and they're at in like the pool that I most recently ran, 5.5% pool, 5-man stack ownership for Boston. I've got like 3x the field right now, so I'm able to take a pretty big stand on San Diego. I'm taking a pretty big stand on Milwaukee, and then Boston is that third team, and that's still allowing me to be neutral on Toronto. I'm feeling really good about the teams that I'm able to get to right now.
There's something else that stands out about Boston, which is one of the reasons I just filtered by them here in the Sims to which if you guys want to sign up for, link down below in the YouTube description box, or take advantage of our link join offer. Sign up with any of our affiliate partners through the link that we have down below. And for each one you sign up for, 1 free month of a single sports Sims package of your choosing. So sign up for a couple of those sites, get yourself covered for the rest of the baseball season. But look at the positions also of some of the guys here. Like you're rostering guys who are pretty reasonably priced, but also at positions that are sometimes harder to fill, like Connor Wong at catcher, Rony Gonzalez at second base. You get Bregman at third base. You could roster Rafael at second base or outfield. You roster Story at shortstop. It's not like a Red Sox stack is just like paying up for all of the outfield spots, paying up for first base. You're actually getting reasonably priced guys at like middle infield, Bregman at third base. So the positionalities and also some of these guys having MPE also makes the Red Sox really stand out. I think it's a really good team to be stacking. Same thing you guys see here that showed up in the Sims. Of the teams that we had double-digit exposure to, it is the Brewers, the Blue Jays, the Red Sox, and that's it, just those three. And I think those are the three teams that do make the most sense to be rostering overall. The one team that I would add to that for myself that I just talked about before is I think the Padres warrant a little bit more exposure than what shows up in the Sims as well. But those four teams, Padres, Red Sox, Blue Jays, Brewers, I think those are the four best stacks on the slate.
I think we're pretty damn good at this, Greg.
We'll see what the results look like today.
Results.
Are there any lower owned teams? Doesn't have to be for leverage purposes, but just lower owned teams that you also are thinking might be a little bit under owned or worth a shout out that we haven't hit on yet?
What? Let me see how low owned this team is.
By the way, while you're looking it up,
really.
Brandon Lau is not in the Rays lineup for today, so that is going to make the Rays lineup a little bit weaker. No Brandon Lau in that lineup. We've got the Rays lineup as, where is it? All right, so yeah, Rays lineup. It is Yandy Diaz, Ha-Seong Kim, Junior Caminero. I think Ha-Seong Kim really good value option, by the way, in any lineups that don't have Kikuchi. Caminero, Chris Morel, Johnny DeLuca, Josh Lowe, Taylor Walls, Jake Mangum, and then Nick Fortes. That's a pretty shitty version of the Rays lineup. That is going to make Kikuchi look a little bit better for today. Not that we disliked him before, like he was already somebody who we liked a good amount, but it certainly doesn't hurt that the Rays are putting out a watered down lineup.
I don't think the Angels look awful as a more low owned team. Adrian Hauser's nothing special against lefties, at least, so you can kind of carve out Sean O'Well or whatever the phonetic pronunciation of that is supposed to be that I learned a couple days ago and I've already forgot. Moncada's there if you want to go that direction. Rengifo, I'm not looking at the correct lineup page right now, so I might just be shouting out people that aren't in the lineup, and I did, in fact, do that. They are one lefty plus Moncada. So maybe I don't like the Angels as much, but what are you going to do?
Also, another super chat here.
I thought Add More Funds lineups updated, and apparently they don't. So I was just reading off the wrong dudes.
I know for me, when I'm, because a lot of the lineups come out while we're on the show or just before the show, and I'm so much more focused on who are the stacks I'm rostering, who are the pitchers I'm rostering. I'll think about who I want to do for my home run pick as well. Yeah, there are definitely times where I'm doing this and I just won't notice that a lineup came out and somebody wasn't in the lineup who, would normally be in the lineup or was in my lineups before. Cause I always run, final sims at the end of the show. And obviously that filters out whoever is or isn't in lineups. But yeah, right. I overlook that all the time. Let's see. So for me, there's nothing else that really stands out all that much. It's Brewers, Blue Jays, Padres, Red Sox. And then, like I said, if you wanted to stack a little bit against Kikuchi or Soroka, that would definitely make a little bit of sense. Although maybe less so with the Rays now that lineup just came out. And then also something that Einsteinian pointed out in chat with Brandon Lau not starting, it does up the pinch hit risk. There's a very high probability that he's pinch hitting for somebody in the 5th or 6th inning. So that's something else to consider. And then, we got the super chat from Chris Williams. Shout out to J.R. Birlow in chat. He got first with me in that contest also. Greg, it was thanks to my reliever talk that helped. What reliever talk? I'd be curious. Now I don't even know. What did I say about relievers? I'm happy I helped.
Credit for shit you didn't even do.
I'm happy. Oh, I helped. I just don't remember what it was that I had said there. So anyway, Chris, once again, shout out. Congrats for the win there. If you guys haven't done yet, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Any further thoughts on stacks? If not, Josh, you and I will build out some lineups before we do some home run picks.
I don't have anything else there. I do have one thing for you. We don't have to do it now. We could do the building the lineups. But before we make the home run picks, would you like to have the wheel spun for you and have to make a pick based on the criteria that Laffy and I have been using?
We could do it. We could do that.
Okay.
I'm down for that.
I'll pull that up after we get done building some lineups.
All right. So let's go to the single lineup sims now. We'll build out lineups for DraftKings. We'll build out lineups for FanDuel. And we'll start on the DK side of things. How do you want to go about this, Josh? I'll let you pick the stack that we're going to build to begin with. Who do we want as our 5-man stack?
I mean, we both talked about the Padres like that, but I have already built a Padres lineup in the single lineup simulator on our airwaves today. Okay. So let's go with the team du jour out of the main, and let's go with the Milwaukee Brewers.
All right. So we are going to be going with the Milwaukee Brewers, a top value option for the day. And if we sort here by value, it's going to be, pretty much all players from the Milwaukee side of the game, not players from the Atlanta side. So who are the players who we think absolutely should be in these stacks? I'm going to start with Bryce Terang. He was somebody who showed up. I think he was actually a hitter that showed up the most for me in the Sims of any other hitter on the entire slate. So I'll go with Terang in here. I'll throw in Andrew Vaughn as well, which, by the way, somebody should have traded for Luis Robert at the trade deadline. You guys see what's happened to Andrew Vaughn since he went to Milwaukee. You get some of these guys who are talented hitters that are just, they probably just aren't even totally focused or concentrate on some of these at-bats. And because, what did any of the at-bats matter when they were in Chicago? You get a talented guy like Andrew Vaughn, goes to Milwaukee, all of a sudden on a tear. But those are two Milwaukee hitters just immediately stand out in Andrew Vaughn and Bryce Terang. Who else from the Brewers should we include in this stack?
Christian Yelich is going to need to be in there for one main reason. I need some help out of Laffy, and that was his home run pick for today. And we are not doing great against chat right now. So I need a Christian Yelich homer. Let's go ahead and get him in there.
All right, so we've got Christian Yelich. I will throw in William Contreras as well to fill the catcher position. He's also reasonably priced at $4,100. These are absurd prices for the Brewers considering the matchup. This is why they're as popular as they are. These price tags make zero sense considering they're going up against Eric Fetty. I don't know if the pricing algorithm thought that it was Strider on the mound today or Chris Sale was miraculously coming back, but these salaries make no sense. Who's the final hitter do you want to throw in from the Brewers? We got Contreras, Vaughn, Terang, and Yelich so far.
Collins.
Okay. I can get on board with that. I did just bet him. I just bet him for rookie of the year at 10-1. He leads all NL rookies in wins above replacement this year. So I did bet him to win rookie of the year. He's like a 28-year-old rookie. But the rookie of the year race, it is pretty bleak in the National League with Mizorowski now on the injured list. So we've got, by the way, we put all this thought into it. We just selected the top 5 hitters in the lineup. So nothing really crazy about doing this. Anything else?
I stroked my chin a lot for us to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah. Want to just press complete the lineup, or is there anything else that you want to prioritize putting in here?
Do we want to... So we can kind of determine the way the rest of this lineup gets built if we force a 7K pitcher into the lineup right now. I don't know who's going to show up as the 2 optimals, but based on the lineup structure, I wouldn't be surprised if we have 2 pay-ups.
Could be.
So I don't know. Let's just see what it is.
Okay. Yeah, let's see. If we just press complete the lineup, it is, gave us Kikuchi and Soroka, and then filled out the lineup with, actually, so it ended up being a 5-3 lineup. It ended up being
3-man Jays.
This is the most I think this is the most popular lineup you could possibly build today. Because here's what the lineup is. It's the 2 chalk pitchers in Kikuchi and Soroka, the top 5 hitters in the Brewers lineups, and then you get the 1, 2, 4 hitters from the Blue Jays.
I think that we should pull those 3 Toronto hitters pull both of those pitchers and lock.
This.
Oh, yeah. And then lock one of the pay-ups.
This lineup simmed out really well. Came out with a 91.5% sim ROI. Yeah, let's see what happens. So one thing, too, is when you have Bichette and Barger in the lineup, you just get to the Toronto guys, like it just kind of naturally fits together. You got to the cheap pitchers. I wonder what happens if we just go, I know you said one of the expensive pitchers. What if we go Fried and Glass now? I want to see what that.
I like it. I like it.
Let's see what happens.
Because that's still a ton of money left over.
All right.
We still get
all right. So we got Ha-Seong Kim. Ha-Seong Kim. Still got to a couple of Blue Jays and Lopper Fido and Ernie Clement. And if you are going to roster a Blue Jays stack and be a little bit different, you roster guys at the end of the lineup and you're not playing the most popular players in the entire world. So that is somewhat different. Yeah. This lineup not quite as well simmed out as the first lineup, but still no issues with a 49.1% sim ROI. So that ends up looking pretty good. Let's build a FanDuel lineup now.
That went well.
Yeah, we're not going. It's rare we're going to be able to do much better than that for baseball. Let's see for FanDuel. Now, on the FanDuel side of things, the Blue Jays are comically owned on FanDuel. The Blue Jays are nearly 30% owned as a stack on FanDuel. Absurd ownership going there. So I would really like to try to get away from the Blue Jays here. 29 and the other thing too, with the Blue Jays being that popular on FanDuel, every other team is kind of contrarian. Other than the Rockies are also 11% owned. Let's build our Padres stack now. Padres.
That feels good because I didn't build a Padres FanDuel stack, so that's perfect.
Yeah, Padres are 6% owned on FanDuel.
Yeah, that's much better then. Now we can get that built here.
All right, so we'll go Tatis, Machado. Who else do you want to throw in the lineup? We got Tatis and Machado.
I'm pulling up their lineup on our site right now just so I can see the FanDuel projections and stuff in front of us. All right, Tatis, Machado, get Bogarts.
Okay, put Xander in.
Get
shortstop.
I would do Ramon Laureano.
Okay. We'll do Laureano, and that'll be our 4-man stack. So we got Machado, Bogarts, Tatis, and Laureano. I'm curious. I bet if we just press complete the lineup, it's going to give us a ton of Blue Jays still. I'm kind of curious to see, though. Not too bad. Only 2. I thought it was going to be more than that. But we ended up. Yeah, we got Ezekiel Tovar in the lineup, Addison Barger, Rafaela, Vladdy, and then Soroka at pitcher. All right. That's not too bad. Let's run that. If it was a 4-man Blue Jay stack, I would have just zeroed them out.
Yeah. I am the czar of the lineup builder. So if you need me to take over on any of this, I can.
Well, our data doesn't like the Padres as much as we do. So this lineup did not come out looking good. Negative 11.9% sim ROI. So
interesting.
I think it could just be hard to build a really good-looking Padres lineup in the single lineup sims as a result of that.
Yeah, maybe. I was trying to crack the code there, but I didn't really have anything.
Let's see if we only roster the top guys. I'm curious what happens if we just go. Well, I mean, we do have Laureano.
I think getting Luis Arias in the lineup is helpful just because he's not carrying any of their ownership in the same way. Oh, what am I looking? I'm ignore what I just said. Pretty much ignore me forever for what I just said.
All right. If I go to Arise here instead, finish the lineup, we ended up getting, here's a 4-3 stack. It is Bichette, Barger, and Vlad. All right, let's run this. Let's see what happens. Let's see if this one comes out positive. All right, slightly positive. 5.4% sim ROI. Nothing.
We got
crazy.
there.
But we got to positive. We got to positive.
We did.
Just a few minutes left to go here. By the way, if you guys haven't done it, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Josh, you want to run the wheel? We've never done the wheel.
I do. I'm just going to export my lineups quick, if that's okay.
That is acceptable. I'm not gonna say you have to punt your lineups so that we could
I mean,
run
I
the
have
wheel or
stuff in
anything
right
like
now.
that.
I have stuff in already, so it wouldn't be so bad. But alrighty. Entry manager, delete, undelete.
Also, guys, while Josh is uploading his lineups here, throw your home run picks into chat, because while Josh and I do our
Yes.
home run picks, you guys throw your home run picks in, and we'll start to read some of those off after Josh and I give out ours. So with that in mind, I'm curious to see who. Well, I'm not curious. Tom Olson's home run pick is going to be Matt Olson. There it is. He just threw it into chat. He has picked Matt Olson to homer on every single slate so far this year. So Tom Olson is Matt Olson to homer. I'm seeing some of the other home run picks come in. So usually we do our home run picks and then read off the picks from chat. Since Josh is uploading his lineups, also reading off some of your guys' picks, and then we'll do the wheel to lead us out. Folk Matt has got Tyler O'Neill and Bryce Harper. Andrew D has got Ref Schneider. Yay Taco has got Austin Slater. Marquee Sports is going Machado. Brian Stacia has got 2 for Lindor, Nimmo, and Soto. Comment God has got Lopper Fido. Duckman has got Manny Machado. NY Stiegel has Austin Hayes. Doug Dobbs has got Bregman. Father Time has got Max Muncy. Mark has got Willie Castro. Psycho has got Bryce Terang. Stephen Leibowitz is going with Dalton Varsho. We've got Goldschmidt from Stephen Jones. We've got K Thumbs. I assume that's supposed to be Otani. Taking a guess. Zach Justice going
Did
with
he give
Alex
out
Bregman.
Ohanta?
King, it's close to that. King Pate is going with Soto. Rooster Slinky has got Romy Gonzalez. Chris Williams got Max Muncy. Greg Collins is Roman Anthony. Sotex has got Lourdes Gurriel. Skittles is going with Christian Yelich. We've got Malukar going with Fernando Tatis. Cedric Mullins from Aaron Hines. Escobar has got Terang. Tripp has got Perkins. Devin Klein has got Stanton. OMG Lowell has got Brandon Nimmo. Arcafels has got Ventos. We've got Sheets from Jay. Trevor Story from Darryl Smith. Wilton Horton has got Contreras. We've got Luke from Patrick Maduke. We've got Yelich from Skittles. We've got James McCann from Ben Willie. Seager from VQ Clark. Orlando Hewitt's got Perkins. Brian Weddle has got Merrill. PSSA 31 has got Tovar. John Davis has got Bo Bichette. SVT Mike is going with Alejandro Kirk. And now with that said, Josh, spin the wheel. Let's start to get our home run picks up here.
All righty, here we go. Okay, you've got to take a switch hitter. They have to be a switch hitter. That's not a bad gig.
Let me look at what I have.
And for the record, for today, I had to take somebody that's on a 3-game losing streak.
Okay.
Rafi had to take somebody that's a former MVP.
Okay. All right. Now I have to go through all my exposures and try to figure out who is a switch hitter that I think is fairly likely to homer. That's like in between. Is that NL?
I refreshed it already. It's I was bouncing around.
And then, so what does did you spin one for yourself too?
I'll do it right now. Let me click this a couple of times, make it a little harder.
Who I want to pick.
All right. I got a really bad draw here on the wheel, so I might be screwed. Born in the same month as whatever this month is, which is August. So this is almost like a Sean V joint. So I need to find, I can only take somebody that was born in August.
Yeah, that's also one that I would have no clue off the top of my head. All right, so I know
there's always some chat dorks that know.
Yeah, I would have no clue who's born in what month. I'm gonna go with Ketel Marte though. I do go with the switch hitter.
Pretty reasonable option. I don't think that's crazy at all.
Josh Dibdall says Jackson Merrill was born in August. We are on the Padres today.
Do you play today? Oh, please let me take you. That sounded
Yeah.
bad. You're not active today. Shit. Okay, let's see. Anybody have my dad's birthday?
It's like picking lottery numbers.
It might as well be. Well, it's just so hard to find anybody that's eligible, you know?
Why did you put that on the list?
I don't know. Why not? We're looking. Normally, we're not under like the gun here, and you can figure something out pretty quickly. I mean, I could get this answer pretty quickly if I needed to. Like, does he play today? Yeah, like Corbin Carroll is a very reasonable option.
Then we would be picking both players, us from the Diamondbacks.
I do hate JP Sears. Yeah, give me Corbin Carroll.
There we go. Corbin Carroll just learned that his birthday is in August. And that is going to do it for Josh and I. At Josh and I, guys, thank you very much for watching. If you have not done it, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Don't forget, if you want to sign up for any of the packages here at Stokastic, link is down below in the YouTube description box. I'm happy to be back from vacation. Happy to talk about baseball. Happy to figure out which guys are going to homer that are born in August. That is something that we have not done on Live Before Lock before. So good luck with your lineups today, guys. Tomorrow, it's going to be Eric and I back together. So hopefully somebody wins a GPP today. Hopefully maybe Chris Williams wins a showdown slate. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace.